I have a lot of wonderful role models around, and I've watched them growing up, especially my father, family-wise and family friends, have always been the most inspirational people around. Having been born in Dubai, reading and watching as a young person, all the most fantastic ideas that the leaders have had come to life. If I ever speak to someone who's deciding between career opportunities and things like that, I always tell them, if you have a job, and if you have a great job, or if you have the potential for a great job, please do it.
So Prarthana, what gets you up in the morning?
I think what great leader said a few words that always kept me very motivated, which is that the road to excellence has no limit.
Yeah.
And I think, apart from having a couple of goals, I think the excitement of the journey is what gets me up in the morning.
Have you ever wanted something and you didn't get it?
Many times.
Many times?
Several times.
Oh.
And it's been very hard to digest.
Oh,
Yes.
Tell us about it.
I mean, first of all, it's it can start from when you're a child and you want something and you don't get it, to when I was growing up and I was trying to be the best student that I could.
Yeah.
And although I tried my best and I studied, I gave myself a very tough schedule even at age 14. Sometimes I didn't get accepted into certain organizations or programs, and it really drove me to be even more driven, you know. But it does burn for some time.
So
Yes.
I wouldn't say failure, but rather obstacles were not far off, like, oh no, I cannot get it, but maybe a push further to get more.
It's a push further for sure. At the time, it feels like failure. And then again, I needed to train myself for many years to try and understand that it's not a failure, but it's rather, like you said, an obstacle. I wasn't as advanced as you as a young. Yes.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I think I'm more of I would love to be more of a night owl.
Yeah.
Because I think, certain cultures like to perform better at night, and they can, and minds work in that direction. Even when you're working, sometimes some of my clients are in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
So the time difference is different. But I think I genuinely prefer morning times to be like
To
alert.
be active.
Yes.
How
yes.
does your morning look like?
I try to furnish it according to every day a bit different, but there is some stable mornings that will never change unless I'm in a super rush. So for example, I try to practice like breathwork, gratitude, and then have less caffeine than I should, of course. I try to squeeze in some fitness before I go out for the day, for example. And of course, spend time with my dogs and my family before leaving the house is always a nice thing.
What's the name of your dogs?
So I actually named my dogs after my two favorite restaurants in Boston when I was going to university there. They were actually on the same street that I was telling you earlier that I always used to forget to fill in the quarters for my parking.
Yeah.
They're called Scusi and Sonsi.
Scusi and Sonsi.
Yes,
I love Scusi.
yes.
Sounds squishy.
It's very squishy indeed. Yes, and the meaning I found out later has a very apt meaning, but Sonsi in Slavic or Russian means sunset, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Beautiful.
sunrise or sunset, one of the two.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have quite a number of projects, from your personal projects and also family projects. What skill that makes you be flexible to navigate these different spaces?
It's a very good question. But I think something about what you said earlier, like about how early on when you don't, when you maybe have some obstacles, it can really teach you to be patient and to also be rather agile, balancing certain things. Also, something that I realized recently that takes some work but is very effective is just switching off from a project completely and getting into a different mental space to switch on to another project, especially if they're creative in very different ways and require different skills. Sometimes you can just give yourself that certain time of day where you know, okay, it's like, let's say it's 5 p.m., it's time to work on that.
Yeah.
It's all about kind of disciplining the mind to be on and off in those directions. And also I have to say, just continuously researching and learning. Like it just doesn't, there's not ever like one time when it's just like, oh, it's done. It's like it's done, but there's always more. Yes, there's always more. Yes.
How does it feel to be a woman, an entrepreneur who is navigating? When you spoke about the family side, you're running investments, you're looking after the family investments. And I mentioned that these are very male-dominated spaces. How does it feel to be a woman in those spaces?
Actually, that space, it's okay to be a woman in that particular sphere. But I think that the tech advisory, when I started it over a decade ago,
Yeah.
that was a very difficult period because in that time, I was not only trying to bring something that was never really brought before to this part of the world, but also doing it as a as a in a sphere which was largely male dominated at that time. That was more difficult than now, I think, because I was basically telling people you should invest in digital marketing
Yeah.
because it will give you the access that regular marketing will not give you unless you spend at least 1000x the amount on the traditional marketing side.
Yeah.
But the response was often like, why would I spend money on something I cannot touch and feel when I
Okay.
could rather spend it on buying more glasses?
Okay.
So that it was like trying to bring something intangible
Yeah.
into the tangible world, and I think that's much more difficult than any of the obstacles that I'm facing these days.
But now it's working out well, right?
Now it's different because the space has changed. We've had to pivot a lot, and instead of the digital tech that we were offering at that time, of course, you always have to upgrade your tech. Now it's much more sophisticated. It's even completely different. So it's better now because people understand. For example, we live in a digital world. This interview is going to be digital in a matter of seconds, but
Yeah.
that now we have to be different.
Yeah.
So we've brought in AI a lot into our sphere. We've changed our approach completely. Now we care a lot about how to position the person or the venture or the entity more as thought leaders, and it's definitely a different ball game than just how do we get your name out there.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So what I love is you're not only a woman, but an entrepreneur. And in today's modern world, a lot of women are looking for inspiration, yeah? But they always want to know, but how does this woman get where they are? Tell us about your childhood. Tell us what you studied in school. How did you find your passion to being an entrepreneur?
I have to say that it was a lot of deep inspiration from my environment. I have a lot of wonderful role models around, and I've watched them growing up, especially my father, family-wise and family friends, have always been the most inspirational people around. Also, having been born in Dubai, reading and watching as a young person all the most fantastic ideas that the leaders have had
Yeah.
come to life and then, defy all odds, even at that time, has been a wonderful, inspirational experience. And then, I derive a lot of inspiration from my teachers. I went to school like between Dubai and Hong Kong, mostly here, and it was, just so nice to see teachers, with their wonderful attitude, and then themselves stepping out of their comfort zone to be expats in a new, very fast-moving modern cities was always really lovely, and I think that built my passion. But I think that I always was very passionate about reading growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I love to read. I love to where it took my imagination. I was less into films and more into books,
Okay.
and I liked the imagination side that it gave me. And then, of course, as my education became more formal, it was a lot about philosophy
Mm-hmm.
and certain different walks of life. And I think coming into contact with that and learning to write and to refine your ideas, my ideas, and also living deeply in the age of tech. I grew up around the millennium,
Yeah.
and our family business is traditionally in electronics and watches. We moved to one of the most modern societies on the planet when I was very young,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, the Hong Kong was like the Jetsons, literally. And I think that efficiency, that technology, and the amazing modernness and fusion of that lifestyle really drove me forward and inspired me as well.